Hello, welcome to episode 7 of Empower Your Magical Self. I hope that you've had a good week and that you're enjoying fall. Happy Halloween, happy Scorpio season, happy beginning of the end of the year, right? Here we go, headlong into the holiday season. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm excited to have you here, and you're going to absolutely be enthralled by my guest. I just know it. I just know you are. My guest is Toni Nagy. That's not the way I would have guessed her name was pronounced. It's Nagy. So it's Toni Nagy. And who is Toni Nagy? Well, that's a question for the ages, isn't it? She's definitely one of my favorite creators. I don't like the term content creators. I've been called a content creator, and I guess that's what it is. But content, it's just like, fill this bag with stuff, right? A stuffing creator. And I know I don't know, maybe it's a necessary evil, but I would like to think of a better term than content creator. Toni, for instance, is, besides being brilliant and kind and a great entertainer, she's a really deep, great thinker. And that really shows in this interview. We talk about all sorts of things. We talk about beauty standards for women. We talk about feminism a lot. We talk about excrement. We talk about bodily holes. We talk about Buddhism. We talk about a lot of things in this interview, and I found her absolutely fascinating. For being here. Thank you again for being here and for joining me for episode 7 of Empower Your Magical Self with comic, philosopher, dancer, brilliant writer, just a great all-around mind. I'm very fortunate to have her as my guest tonight, so please enjoy my conversation with the brilliant Toni Nagy. Welcome, Toni Nagy. Hi.
Hi.
I hate putting people in boxes, and yet I am curious. Some places it says you're a comic. Some places it says you're I'm talking on the internet. Some places it says content creator. So I'm wondering how you see, what would you say if you said, I'm Toni Nagy,
I would say I'm a comedian, and comedian, I take that, on stage. So I would be a stand-up comic. And then I also take that to the internet, which would be more like content creation. I don't just put my stand-up comedy on the internet. In fact, I don't do that often. Mostly because I don't know, I have tons of things to say and ways of saying it. So I think that my stand-up is one thing, and then the content I put on the internet is different than my stand-up, but they're all interrelated. I'm playing in the same waters of my consciousness, regardless of format. I also am a dancer. I'm also a business owner. I'm also a filmmaker. So I'm also a writer. It's hard to just put myself into one lane, because maybe if I had to put myself in any lane, it's philosopher. And then I do philosophy in all aspects of my artistic inclinations.
Yes, I would agree with that from an outsider perspective. I think that is a word that I wouldn't have stumbled upon when trying to describe your work, but yeah.
Am I always comfortable in my body? 100% no. But have I felt comfort within the body? Yes, I have. And I think we all can feel both of those spectrums. And what I think I am participating in is a practice. And I do that practice every day. And whether or not I am, quote unquote, successful in that practice isn't really the point. The point is to show up to the practice. So, for example, I have a daily meditation practice. Every morning and every night I meditate. I don't always get into a meditative state, but I always show up. So I think if I were to explain anything, I would start by saying I show up and I practice, but I would never, I just saw a bald eagle.
Oh my God, that's so exciting. Wow.
That is so exciting.
Do you see them often?
I see them more than I ever have in the last couple of years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was wild.
That's so exciting. I wish we'd gotten that, but Okay, we got it through you. That's great.
Through transitive property.
Exactly. Yeah. A video of yours where you talked about you had a tumor. Am I correct in that? Saying that?
Yes, in my pituitary.
Okay. So how did it seemed as if from the video that I watched that it had an impact on your spiritual practice?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think that, the pituitary is really connected to your third eye, your vision, your spiritual self in many ways. And so I did, and I do continue to see any sort of health predicament as a spiritual calling, which I also see as an emotional calling. That every time I'm dealing with something that's health related, there is a spiritual component to it and an emotional component to it. And then also, of course, obviously the physical component. So that has maintained as a perspective that I have been exploring for many, many years.
Did that perspective start with that tumor experience, or had it preceded that tumor experience?
Yeah, no, it really did. I mean, I am someone that's had, pretty good amount of like injury in life and chronic pain and different elements of physical suffering. But I do believe that it was the experience with the tumor that woke me up to a perspective that was more esoteric. And that was also partly because of the way I was choosing to address it. I did meet a lot of witchy women and witchy dudes and just different healer types that were looking at healing from a more mystical place. So I think that my exposure at that time, and then also a lot of the books I was reading around like neuroplasticity, there's also a lot of scientific research and evidence and thought, epigenetics around how our environment and how our emotions shape our health. So it wasn't all just like, ooh, what? There was a lot of it grounded in quote unquote science and medical research. So I was playing in those waters when I was dealing with my health and just trying to educate myself as much as I could during that time.
That sums it up. I watched your video this morning that you posted recently about everything going on and you're just like shitting all the time. Good shits, manifesting shits and manifesting hearts. And as I was like watching it, I was like doing my tongue scraping and my neti pot, and it's like so much of our existence is just maintaining our various holes.
Yes, it's funny.
It really is, because it's like you want to control what you hear. So you got those holes. You want to deal with your mouth and what you take in and what you say, your eye holes, your asshole. I mean, it's all just like dealing with a series of holes.
That is so funny. You should make a video about that. Maintaining.
I think you would make a better one about it.
Okay, well, if I hijack that from you, I'll be sure to tag you.
That's perfectly fine. Yeah.
As the inspiration of that, because that is so funny to me. Yes. It's also funny. I think sometimes I like to just, because that story is true. I genuinely did shit an alarming amount one day. And I genuinely did shit the shape of an ohm in college.
That's crazy.
It was really wild. It really was a moment. And so, but sometimes I make videos along those lines because women don't talk about shit very much.
There you go. I love that.
I remember feeling like, shame around it, especially around men, like not wanting to admit you shit in front of a dude. And so sometimes for me, just like talking about shitting on the internet is also an act of feminism, because I'm just like, girl shit too. We can talk about it. We don't have to feel weird about our shit. And so that was also my objective. Like, A, that was a 100% true story. And B, it was my little act of feminist rebellion to just put it out there.
I totally love it. And I love that you do that. And it comes across without you having to say, hey, this is an act of feminist rebellion. And not that there's anything wrong with anybody ever saying it, but it just comes across as so genuine and so human. And I also respect Celeste Barber a lot. The comedian as well.
Yeah. She's really cool.
She's so amazing. And the thing that I love about both of you is that you are these commanding, powerful presences who are so physical and look so comfortable in your body. I'm not going to put that on you, but for the perception. And yet you're neither one of you catering to the male gaze or being like, I know I'm going to move this way because it looks good and it's sensual. You're just moving. And you're being in yourself and you're inhabiting your body. And I think for so many women, especially younger, like when I was young, I can't even imagine having seen you or Celeste Barber doing what you do. And so I'm so happy that there's women like you doing the work that you do for younger women, because I grew up in a time before the internet, and the only women who I saw being performative were being performatively sexy.
Beautiful. Yeah. No, you're bringing up a point that is, I think, the underbelly of a lot of what I'm doing, which is trying to free myself of the prison of beauty.
Yeah.
Because the beauty expectation is something that I think all women experience. I mean, I do. I think we all are part of the patriarchal conditioning of our relationship to beauty, and where beauty really does not fit in as an asset, I think, is in comedy. I don't think that you are your funniest when you are your prettiest. In fact, I'm pretty sure that is correct. So comedy is about freeing yourself from trying to be pretty and trying to be beautiful. And I think that in and of itself is a revolutionary deconstruction of the body and of the female form within a patriarchal expectation of the woman's body as a commodity for not only capitalism, but also to produce more bodies in order to enslave. So
yeah,
that is why us deconstructing our relationship to beauty is really crucial. And I mean, if you look about what's going on in society right now and the economy and, so many people really struggling for money, where are women turning to? OnlyFans. They are turning to their bodies to make money from their body and their sexuality and male desire. I think mostly men are paying for OnlyFans. I mean, I don't know. I haven't done the research.
I think that's a fair assumption.
I think I'm making an assumption, but I kind of stand by it. So it's like how patriarchy and how capitalism has colonized women's bodies and their beauty and their sexuality is something we're still, in 2023 grappling with to the same extent that we were, I think, 4,000 years ago. I mean, they always say like, oh, prostitution is the first job,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it continues.
World's oldest profession. World's oldest profession.
World's oldest sex work. Yeah, maybe sex work. So it's something to think about when it comes to our bodies and colonization.
For sure. I mean, I grew up believing. I mean, I believed it. I guess I hate that I believed it, but I was told so often women aren't funny. Women can't be funny. And then
of course,
the only women who I would see who were presented as acceptably funny were really, really, really making fun of their own looks. And that was the comedy bit, and it was like somehow we had to get through that, I guess.
Yeah. And it was like there was a time it's like where I mean, I'm never insinuating that being openly gay is easy for anyone, but like lesbians could be funny because it's like, oh, they weren't trying to attract men.
You're right.
Or like a woman, who was making fun of her looks or her weight or whatever, like she could be funny. Roseanne could be funny, even, like, so there was a lot of, I think, assumptions around beauty and humor.
Yeah. I love that it's changing. And I know that it's got a really long way to go. But
Yeah.
my friends who have younger children, I guess I'm seeing also in the fact that they're, and I say younger, like, I mean, 17-year-olds, but I'm also equating that to how much more comfortable I see kids in their gender fluidity, their
Expression.
gender.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. I just love it. Just love it that it's like no big thing for a kid to be like, I'm trying out being
This.
Yes, I think that's so wonderful and such a big change from when I was growing up. So at least I can see that going in a positive direction if everything else is falling apart, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there is a massive cultural exploration that's going on right now with identity. And, you know, from a Buddhist perspective, the ultimate goal would be to shed all layers of identity and to really sit within like the oneness of humanity. And I have been thinking about this a lot in terms of like, you know, shame and acceptance. Because I had a friend who did a Buddhist retreat recently, and it was an LGBTQ Buddhist retreat. And so it was like a couple day silent meditation, but within this group, you know, like everyone was in the group of or identifying as LGBTQ. And I was like thinking about it and how like for her growing up in like a very Christian environment where she felt so much shame about having a queer identity underneath that she was hiding, that for her to go to a queer Buddhist retreat essentially and not have to hold the baggage of like, am I accepted here, was like so freeing for her. And it was so important for her to start there. You know, even actually, she had done other meditation retreats. She wasn't even starting there. She had done the meditation retreat. She'd even done a 3-month meditation retreat. I mean, this
Wow.
girl is a very practiced meditator. Yet she needed the 3-month retreat to be able to do the queer retreat. And
Wow.
like, so it was really opening up my eyes to like, oh, right. It's like it actually, there is something really relevant about being within a group of people where you don't feel judged for the thing that has made you feel the most shame.
Right.
And then once you're able to like really kind of put down those bags of shame, then where do you take that out into the world? But like, and then also all the work she had done beforehand in order to be in that environment where she could be in a queer retreat. I mean, it really was. I'm obviously still thinking about, you know, identity. I will think about identity for the rest of my life. I think we all will.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
there was something really beautiful about this group for her and being fully accepted. And would she have been able to feel that full acceptance in like another format of retreat where it wasn't, you know, purely around those that identify as queer? No, I don't think so. So that I think is really interesting when it comes to identity. And I think that's where that like conflicting relationship we have with it. Because on the one hand, identifying with a group separates you, but on another hand, it is a really necessary step to open up and to not feel separate anymore. I think we have to realize that a spiritual path takes steps. We have to walk up steps and so part of that step is being part of a group, even if that group is ultimately all of all things, not just humanity, all of nature, all of animals, all of rocks, all of minerals, all of cells. I think we have to build up to that feeling of oneness. And I think a lot of people just expect to be like, oh, we're one, you know, but it's like, do you really feel one? Or are you just saying that?
Yeah. It's like opening the door just a little bit more to get from that. Because when you're talking, I was thinking it's kind of the same way for me as being autistic. I was only diagnosed in the last 3 years. And so my entire life, I was just like the weirdo being difficult, who wasn't really sure. Because when I was growing up, autistic kids meant basically you were a little boy who was really good at math, who didn't get along really well with other kids. So
Very narrow definition. And also not a label you would want. I do think it's very interesting. It's like I was labeled ADHD at 9, and that was actually a dangerous label.
Sure.
My brother, my parents were like, we are not getting these children tested anymore because my brother was odd. He definitely neurodivergent. I'm obviously as well. But this was not a diagnosis one would want within the educational system when I was growing up. And it is interesting now how like these diagnoses are not only more accepted, but broadening. And I both see that as like very like positive, and I also am questioning how labeling ourselves also limits us. I'm seeing both of these things.
Well, that was just what you were speaking to about your friend in the meditation group.
Yes.
and for me, it's like, finally, I have a label, which, yeah, I'm not all that comfortable with labels, but to be able to say I'm autistic is like, okay, it's wonderful for me to be able to finally have a label, a reason. And I always say, I wish I had loved myself as much before I had the label as I do now. But it was as if the label gave me permission to be like, yeah, I'm weird. Yeah, I don't see the world the way as other people do. But here is the reason. Look, I have a diagnosis, all right? And for some reason that has given me the ability to love myself and embrace myself. And I see that for a lot of people as being a necessary step in whatever their little thing is, whether it's being neurodivergent or being queer, being this, being that.
Yeah.
I think it's a step in self-acceptance for a lot of people anyway.
I love that. And I agree with you completely. It's a step of self-acceptance, but it doesn't stop there. And I think that's where, culture has to continue, is that like, it is a place. It's not a landing point. Yeah. But I really do like what you said. Because there has been all these things, like I think astrology, human design, all these different like personality assessments that we do. I also think that, gives us the permission to accept ourselves.
Yes.
And it is interesting how we are looking for permission to love ourselves. I mean, if that isn't some mommy and daddy wounds, I don't know what is. But I think you're correct that like we do need, or we are seeking permission to love and accept ourselves. And I do honor all the ways in which we accrue that. And yet I also want to build a society where we do not seek it.
Absolutely. It's the same with DNA testing, right? It's like now all of a sudden people can be like, well, I've got a temper. I'm Irish. That explains it,
Right.
Like, okay, we'll move beyond that a little bit, because we all want to categorize ourselves and feel like, okay, well, I came from these people, thus I am this way.
Yes. At what point do we use things as an excuse rather than a beginning of a conversation of self-exploration? I think, you're really nailing on the head for me. It's like, it's one thing to say, oh, this is in my toolbox of self-exploration and perpetual intention to grow and evolve, versus, oh, this is an excuse for why I am the way I am. I might as well just stay this way and remain stagnant.
Yep. And I think that comes down to so much of the stagnation and the energy flowing. Because everything is energy. And when you just label yourself, okay, I'm an autistic, queer, middle-aged white woman, I'm going to stand here in my place and that's what I'm going to be. That's where I'm going to stagnate and there's no room for growth anymore. But when I use those tools to say, okay, well, this is my past, this is what's made me who I am, and I'm going to keep that energy flowing from that space, then that leads to growth and healing and moving beyond me just saying I'm an autistic, white, middle-aged, ta-da, here I am. And a lot of people get stuck because it's easy to get stuck. In that becomes then the identity politics that people rage against.
Absolutely. Yes, I really am resonating with that.
What do you teach?
Oh, I teach dance. I own a dance studio.
Oh, nice. So that's the side stream, is that okay? Cool. I saw that when I was looking at all your stuff. And
it's funny, like I've been teaching dance for a while, and one of the things that I've recently recognized about my dance classes is that I really try to, there are quite a few teen girls who I work with too. I work with teens and adults. but it's like this idea of leaving space for people to bring their emotions into a class, right?
Mm-hmm.
So especially teen girls, they have a lot of
Mm.
emotions and they're not that interested in like hiding their emotions on their face. And nor do I create an environment where you would feel the pressure to hide your emotions. So it's like you enter into a space where you're feeling emotional, you're feeling stress, you're feeling like the anxiety of school, whatever. And I allow them to be in whatever mood they're in. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
allow anyone to come in my class in whatever mood, whether they feel like crying, whether they're in a bad mood, whether they feel petulant, bring the mood. But it's like I see the mood and yet we will alchemize the mood. I don't
Mm.
take the mood on. I don't run from it, but nor do I say, let's maintain this mood. I usually use like some humor and movement in order to bring the medicine of like, how do we feel differently? Like by the end
Yeah.
of this class, how can we alchemize this moody feeling? And I think that to me is what movement is.
Yes,
It is witchcraft. It's alchemy. It is
it is.
the beauty of being like, I'm in this emotional state. Yeah, I'm going to stir up my cells and my molecules and my muscles, and I'm going to leave this moment feeling whole for a moment. I'm not saying it's going to last for the rest of
Yeah.
the day or the evening, but we have a moment of feeling whole. We have a moment of feeling free. We have a moment of feeling like fully in our bodies. We have a moment of feeling satisfied. And I think that's what's so beautiful about being within the body. And I know everyone has different abilities within their body. Some people can't even move their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not even implying that you need to be able to move your body to feel this, but it is a way to feel that, you know, and it would be actually really interesting to explore with somebody who could not move their body, how to feel free
Mm-hmm.
within the body. I mean, that would be a
Mm-hmm.
really interesting journey to go on. And I'm sure a lot of people are exploring it. Yeah, that was a bit of a tangent, but
No, it was really interesting, and it brings me back to something that I wanted to mention, that I'm trying to do the splits because of you.
oh
I'm
yes,
inspired
yes.
by you, and I love, you know, I really can't emphasize enough how disconnected I was from my body for so many decades, to the point of hatred.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I was suicidal, so you know,
Yeah.
that was the thing. My body was a cage. I hated
Mm-hmm.
it. I developed huge breasts really early in my life, which led
Oh
to me
yeah.
being,
Mm-hmm.
you know, talked to. I was 8 years old, and 40-something-year-old men were saying disgusting things to me as I walked
Yeah.
by.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that all of that led to me just feeling imprisoned in my body and feeling like it was a cage. And I'm just getting so emotional because your work and the work of others like you has helped me so much to come into my body and to feel comfortable. And like you were saying about the young women coming into your classes, I remember being a teenager and feeling like I can't go anywhere unless I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
And it hurts
Mm-hmm.
me. It hurts me to think of young women having to do that, if anybody having to do that, but especially at that time.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm so happy that they're offered a place where they can go, and I mean, this is wider than just your students. I hope for every young person, for every teenager, for every child, to have a place where they can go and act out, right? Don't act out, we're told. No, fuck it, act out. You know, act out in a safe space like you're providing.
Yeah. Yeah. Bring your full self. You don't have to wear a
Right.
mask. I mean, I'm relating a lot, you know, it's like, I think just the majority of girls and women have experienced sexual assault, have experienced sexual harassment, have experienced rape. And so, how do you love your body when your body has been violated? How do you love your body when you feel like your body betrayed you
Yeah.
because your body was quote unquote asking for it? I mean,
Right.
I think still to this day, we are insinuating that women's bodies are asking for it by having dress codes on
Yeah.
girls, and you can't wear your
Absolutely.
skirt this short.
Right.
And even my daughter, who goes to a very progressive hippie school, they made one girl change because she wasn't dressed up enough because she was wearing jeans to a field trip, and yet they let a boy wear track pants.
Oh, yeah.
We're constantly micromanaging women's bodies and the way that they're dressing, and insinuating that your body is to blame for his desire.
Yeah.
And of course we feel imprisoned in our bodies in that context. I mean, how can we not?
Right.
And I think, it's funny. I'm actually working on a 2-person show with a friend of mine about rape culture. We're calling it Grape Culture. And we've been, really diving into a lot of these topics around how the love of our bodies and the acceptance of our bodies, if we truly feel that, can we say no easier? Can we walk like I was kind of talking about the concept of raping myself, right? And maybe this is like a controversial thing to say, but there were times where I fully raped myself. I would not say the guy had any idea that I did not want to do this.
Yeah,
I
see.
He did not know. I was not making it clear to him that I didn't want to do this. I did not say no. My body language maybe was it would be too ambivalent, too mysterious for him to know he was doing anything wrong. But like, why was I there? Because I didn't want to say no. I just was afraid of saying no, and not because I thought he would hurt me, because I didn't want to hurt his feelings, making him uncomfortable. I was people pleasing. I felt I owed it to him.
We want to be liked.
Want to be liked. I mean, all of these things that I did. Where I just raped myself because I didn't honor my body enough.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I'd already had sex. I was like, oh, whatever. What's one more dick? It was kind of that feeling. There's a lot of experiences I had like that. So I think that truly loving our bodies and honoring them, I do think that is a big part of the medicine of rape culture, but I obviously doesn't end there. It's just like a little
So I think you've kind of alluded to it, but I'm curious as to what your personal definition of magic is.
Oh gosh, I mean, I would think magic is the faith and the experimentation in the invisible.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Just try to emphasize this, that therapy can work, and it doesn't have to just be talk therapy. Because I have a lot of people who say to me, you're so lucky, Leah, that you found a therapist that works for you. I've tried so many therapists. It doesn't work for me. I maintain there's someone who can help you.
There's always someone who can help. And we have to, our mental health, our physical health, these are experimentations that will last a lifetime. I mean, I'm always experimenting with my mental and physical health and seeing different people and doing different things and approaching it in a variety of different ways. I think that when we get to, again, like anything stuck, stagnant, committed to one way of being, that's when we stop growing.
Yeah. So I always just try to get that in there, that because I've been in desperate places before and thought, I am so unique in my desperation that there is no one who can reach in and understand and help. That's just it. I am that special, right? That's basically what my ego was telling me. You are that special that you are fucked up beyond 3 billion other people. Congratulations.
Right. It's like, totally. Because that's another funny thing is the desire to feel unique. It's like we all are unique, yet and that makes us all the same.
Yep.
Do you know? It's so there's a really funny duality. I find when anyone's trying to feel special, I'm like, oh, that's a trap. And I've felt that trap. I mean, totally. I've been trapped by that trap. Absolutely. And sometimes I just really sit in my own mediocrity and my own averageness and my own sameness of everyone else. And I'm like, this is actually really freeing and important. And as unique as I am the same as everyone.
And it takes a bit of mental and not gymnastics, but agility,
flexibility. Yeah,
there you go. There you go. And it all really comes down so much to that in any body, spirit, whatever. It's that flexibility of, like we said, identifying as queer, but being able to use that as a stepping stone to move beyond it. Autistic, using that as a stepping stone. It's all just keeping the energy moving and not being stagnant and staying open.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's really what you embody in your work to me. So I want to thank you for that.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. You've said a lot of kind words to me and I received them. I'm very
I'm
grateful.
very glad. I'm glad because I mean them and they're heartfelt, and you've been very inspiring to me as an entity.
Entity. Yeah. What a great way of phrasing it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Toni. And people can find you on tonibaloney.com, right? And where else can people find you? Where can they see you?
Yeah, if you want to read my old blogs, that's my old blog.
Good stuff,
and then on social media, I'm Toni Nagy, Nagy.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool. And in your area, they can study with you at your
Yes,
studio?
I have a studio in Brattleboro, Vermont.
Great.
Check it out. Come study with me. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. This has just been wonderful. I've been dying to talk to you for not dying. That's hyperbole. My therapist would say, Leah, really? Were you dying to talk to this woman? So
looking forward to.
Kind of dial back the hyperbole.
Yeah, I also speak in hyperbole and I stand by it.
Yeah, well, it has gotten me in trouble in my interior life. So my therapist is trying to work with me on that.
Yeah, that's... I honor that. I'll work on mine as well.
Well, you do you, baby, because I like what you got going on there. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yes, let's poop hearts, right?
Poop hearts, yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So what did you think? Toni is a pretty fascinating person, isn't she? She is entertaining in every aspect of the word, and I wish her all the best in the world. I think that she is an outstanding talent, and I'm so fortunate that she agreed to spend a little time with me and by extension with you. Please check out her work if you're not familiar with her already. That's Toni Nagy, Toninaggy. Spelled a little differently than you might think, or perhaps pronounced a little differently than I thought. But I'm often pronouncing things wrong. I will see you next week on November 1st, and my guest will be the marvelous HAPA healer, Kim Cadiel Early. You are really going to enjoy that interview because I really have the best guest. Sorry, but I do. Sorry, not sorry. Okay. Go out there, my dear, and empower your magical self. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.